I lived like a married stranger for 31 nights. I chose divorce, protected my kids, and reclaimed my self-respect and peace. Finally free again now. 30 rejections in 1 month. I know because I started counting after the 15th time she turned away from me in bed. You might think that makes me pathetic, but here's what really happened. I discovered I was married to someone who had zero respect for me as a man. It started innocently enough. I'd reach over at night. She'd give me the classic, "I'm tired," or "not tonight." "I have a headache." Standard stuff that happens in marriages, right? Wrong. This wasn't occasional tiredness. This was a systematic shutdown of our physical connection, and I was too blind to see the pattern until I started documenting it. The app on my phone became my reality check. Every rejection, every excuse, every time she made me feel like wanting my own wife was somehow unreasonable, too stressed from work. The kids might hear. I just showered. I'm about to start my period. I might start my period. I just finished my period. The creativity was actually impressive. But what really opened my eyes wasn't just the frequency. It was her attitude during these rejections. No apology, no acknowledgement that this might affect me, no suggestion of when might be better. Just flat, cold dismissal like I was some stranger making an unwelcome advance. The breaking point came on a Saturday morning. No work stress, no kids around. We'd had a decent week together, no major arguments. I thought maybe finally we could reconnect. I approached her with genuine affection, not just physical desire. I wanted us to feel close again. She didn't even look up from her phone. Really, right now? I was about to do laundry, as if folding clothes was more important than her husband of 8 years trying to maintain intimacy in their marriage. That's when something clicked. I realized I'd been playing by rules only she knew, in a game where I was always going to lose. I was living like a monk in my own house, constantly walking on eggshells, afraid to express normal desires because I might get another eye roll or heavy sigh. The 31st time I approached her, everything changed, not because she finally said yes. She gave me the same dismissive response she had perfected over the past month. But this time, instead of retreating to my corner like a defeated puppy, I made a decision that would alter the course of our marriage forever. I looked at her directly and said something I'd never said before. This isn't working anymore. Not angry, not pleading, just a simple statement of fact. The look of surprise on her face told me everything I needed to know. She'd gotten so comfortable controlling our physical relationship that she never considered I might actually do something about it. That night, I didn't go to bed frustrated or rejected. I went to bed with a plan, because I finally understood that respect isn't something you can beg for or gradually earn back. It's something you either command or you don't have at all, and I was done living without it. The next morning, I didn't pretend everything was normal. No small talk over coffee, no asking about her plans for the day. I sat down across from her at the kitchen table and opened my phone to the tracking app. "We need to talk about what's been happening in our marriage." I showed her the screen with 30 documented rejections. "This is just from the past month." Her reaction was exactly what I expected. First came the dismissive laugh. "You've been keeping track? That's actually creepy." Classic deflection, make me the problem for noticing the pattern instead of addressing the pattern itself. 30 times in 31 days, I continued, not taking the bait. "That's not a coincidence. That's a choice you've been making consistently." She shifted tactics quickly. "Look, marriage isn't just about sex. There are other ways to be intimate." Another classic move. Reframe the conversation to make my needs seem shallow while completely ignoring the deeper issue of rejection and disrespect. "You're right," I said. "Marriage isn't just about sex. It's also about respect, consideration, and not making your partner feel unwanted in their own home. Tell me, when was the last time you initiated any kind of physical affection with me?" The silence stretched long enough to make my point. She couldn't answer because the answer was never. She'd become comfortable taking everything I offered while giving nothing back. "This is ridiculous," she finally said. "I shouldn't have to schedule intimacy. It should happen naturally." The irony was incredible. She'd been systematically preventing anything natural from happening for months, but now she wanted to lecture me about spontaneity. "Nothing's been natural between us for a long time," I replied. "What's been natural is you treating me like an inconvenience every time I try to connect with you physically or emotionally." That's when her mask slipped completely. "Maybe if you weren't so needy all the time, I'd actually want to be close to you. It's exhausting having someone constantly wanting something from me." There it was. The truth she'd been hiding behind all those polite excuses. I wasn't her husband in her mind. I was a burden. Someone whose desires were inherently annoying to her, someone she'd grown to resent for wanting basic intimacy in our marriage. Needy, I repeated back to her. Is that what you call a husband wanting physical intimacy with his wife? Needy? She doubled down. Yes, actually. Most women don't want to feel pressured constantly. Maybe you should learn to read the room better. The conversation could have ended there with me apologizing, promising to change, begging her to work with me. That's probably what she expected, what she'd trained me to do over months of conditioning. Instead, I closed the phone and looked at her directly. You're absolutely right. I have been needy. I've been needing respect from someone who clearly doesn't have any for me. I've been needing consideration from someone who sees my feelings as an inconvenience. But here's what's going to change. The confident smirk disappeared from her face. She sensed something different in my tone. I'm done needing anything from you. As of right now, this marriage is over. Not because you won't sleep with me, because you've shown me exactly what you think of me as a person, and I finally believe you. For the first time in months, she was speechless. The woman who always had a comeback, always had an excuse, always had a way to turn things around on me had nothing to say. She finally realized she'd pushed too far, revealed too much, and there was no walking it back. The shock on her face was almost comical. She stared at me like I'd just announced I was moving to Mars. This wasn't part of her script. In her world, I was supposed to apologize for bringing up the intimacy issue, promise to be more understanding, and crawl back to my corner. You can't be serious, she said, her voice suddenly smaller. You're talking about ending our marriage over sex? No, I corrected her. I'm ending our marriage because you've shown me that you have zero respect for me as your husband. The intimacy issue just made it impossible to ignore anymore. She stood up abruptly, pacing to the window. I could see her brain working, trying to find the angle that would put her back in control. This is insane. You're having some kind of breakdown. People go through phases in marriage. This isn't permanent. You're right about one thing, I said. This isn't permanent. I'm filing for divorce this week. That stopped her cold. She whipped around to face me. You already decided this without even trying to work it out? The audacity was breathtaking. Work it out. I've been trying to work it out for months. Every conversation, every attempt to connect, every time I tried to address this, you shut me down. You made it clear my needs don't matter to you. She switched tactics again. Suddenly, she was the victim. I had no idea you were feeling this way. You never told me it was this serious. I told you constantly. You just didn't care enough to listen. Then came the desperation play. She moved closer, her voice dropping to that tone she used when she wanted something. Look, maybe I have been distant lately. Work's been stressful, but we can fix this. We don't need to throw away 8 years of marriage. 8 years of what exactly? I asked. Because looking back, I can't remember the last time you treated me like someone you actually wanted to be married to. She reached for my hand. I pulled it away. The rejection was written all over her face, and for a moment I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Don't do this, she said. Don't make a permanent decision based on a temporary problem. Temporary? I laughed. You've been checking out of this marriage for over a year. The only thing temporary here is how long it took me to accept reality. That's when she played her trump card. What about the kids? You're going to destroy their family because you're not getting enough sex? The kids deserve to see what a healthy relationship looks like, I replied. Right now they're watching their mother treat their father like a roommate she barely tolerates. Is that really the example you want to set? Her face flushed with anger. You're being completely unreasonable. This is emotional blackmail. No, I said, standing up. Emotional blackmail is what you've been doing, making me feel guilty for having normal needs, making me feel like I'm the problem for wanting basic affection from my wife, making me walk on eggshells in my own home. She tried one more angle. Fine. If intimacy is so important to you, we can work on that. We can schedule time together. Schedule time? I shook my head. Do you hear yourself? You're talking about scheduling basic affection like it's a dental appointment. That's not a marriage. That's a business arrangement. Every marriage requires work, she said weakly. You're right. It requires work from both people. But you checked out long ago. You stopped putting in any effort while expecting me to be grateful for scraps. I walked toward the door, then turned back. I've already spoken to an attorney. I've separated our finances. I've done everything necessary to make this as clean as possible. The papers will be filed tomorrow. For the first time in our entire conversation, she looked genuinely afraid. You've already started the process? I started the process the moment I realized you'd rather do laundry than connect with your husband. Everything since then has just been confirmation. She slumped back into her chair, finally understanding that this wasn't a negotiation, wasn't a threat to get her attention. This was a man who had reached his limit and was walking away with his dignity intact. Within 24 hours, my phone started ringing. First her sister, then her mother, then our mutual friends. She'd launched a full-scale campaign to paint me as the unreasonable one who was destroying our family over trivial issues. Her sister called first. I can't believe you're doing this to her. She's devastated. Over what? I asked. Some marital problems that every couple has? Did she tell you about the 30 rejections in 1 month? Silence. Then that's between you two, but divorce? Really? What would you do if your husband treated you with complete indifference for months and then called you needy for wanting basic affection? Another pause. Look, maybe you both need counseling. I suggested counseling 6 months ago. She said our problems weren't serious enough to need outside help. Apparently they're only serious now that I'm leaving. Her mother was more direct. You're breaking up our family because you're not mature enough to understand that marriage has ups and downs. You're right about ups and downs, I replied. But respect isn't optional. Would you stay married to someone who treated you like an inconvenience? She's going through a difficult time at work. For over a year? And that gives her permission to treat me like garbage? The friends were the most interesting. A few of our couple friends admitted they'd noticed the tension, the way she dismissed me in public, the way she talked about me like I wasn't sitting right there. But the real surprise came from an unexpected source. My wife's best friend called me directly. I know she's angry with me for saying this, but someone needs to tell you the truth. She's been complaining about you for months, not just the intimacy thing. Everything you do annoys her. The way you eat, the way you watch TV, the way you try to plan date nights. She's been telling us she feels trapped. Trapped, those are her words, not mine. She said she married too young and missed out on experiences. She's been talking about what her life would be like if she was single again. The pieces fell into place. This wasn't about work stress or temporary difficulties. This was a woman who'd mentally checked out of our marriage months ago, but was too comfortable with the security I provided to actually leave. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Because what you're doing takes guts. Most men would just accept being treated like that forever. She's been using you as a safety net while fantasizing about a different life. That's not fair to either of you. When I got home that evening, my wife was waiting with a new strategy. She'd prepared dinner, lit candles, and was wearing the dress I bought her for our anniversary last year. I've been thinking about our conversation, she said, attempting to sound seductive. Maybe I have been taking you for granted. Let me show you how much you mean to me. It was almost insulting. After months of rejection, after calling me needy, after showing complete disdain for my needs, she thought, one candlelit dinner would erase everything. This is exactly what I'm talking about, I said, not even sitting down. You think you can turn affection on and off like a switch when it's convenient for you. This isn't about one romantic evening. This is about a pattern of disrespect that you only want to address now that there are consequences. I'm trying here, she said, her voice starting to crack. You're trying to manipulate me. There's a difference. Where was this effort last month when I was actually trying to save our marriage? She started crying. I know I messed up, but people make mistakes. You can't just throw away everything we built. I'm not throwing it away. You already did. I'm just finally accepting it. Please don't do this. I promise things will be different. Different how? You'll schedule intimacy twice a month instead of never? You'll only call me needy every other week instead of daily? She had no answer, because we both knew she couldn't promise real change. She could promise temporary behavior modification to avoid consequences, but she couldn't promise to actually respect me or desire me the way a wife should. The papers are filed, I said. This conversation is over. As I walked away, I heard her say something that confirmed everything I'd suspected. Fine, but don't come crawling back when you realize what you're giving up. Even in defeat, she couldn't resist one final attempt to make me feel like I was making a mistake. That's when I knew, without any doubt, that I was making exactly the right choice. The divorce proceedings moved faster than she expected. I'd done my homework, documented everything, and made sure there were no surprises. She kept waiting for me to change my mind, to come back begging for reconciliation. Instead, every interaction was business-like and final. 3 weeks into the process, she tried her last desperate play. I came home to find her in lingerie, music playing the whole seduction scene she'd never bothered with during our marriage. "I miss you," she said, moving toward me. "I miss us. Don't you miss what we had?" What we had? I looked around the room she'd decorated for this performance. When exactly did we have anything like this? Because I don't remember you ever putting this much effort into our relationship when it actually mattered. I know I wasn't the best wife, but I can change. I want to change. You want to change because there are consequences now. That's not the same thing as actually changing. She pressed closer. "Let me prove it to you. Give me one more chance." I stepped back. "You had hundreds of chances. Every day I tried to connect with you was a chance. Every conversation where I told you I felt rejected was a chance. Every time I suggested we work on our relationship was a chance. You chose to ignore all of them. But this is different. I understand now. You understand that you're about to lose your comfortable life. That's not the same as understanding how badly you treated me." She started crying again, but this time it felt calculated. "I love you. I know I haven't shown it well, but I do love you. Love isn't a feeling you keep hidden and only reveal when you're about to lose something. Love is actions, daily choices, consistent behavior. You've shown me what your version of love looks like, and I want no part of it. So that's it? 8 years of marriage means nothing to you? 8 years means everything to me. That's why I'm not willing to waste 8 more years hoping you'll become someone you're not." She switched tactics one final time. "You think you'll be happier alone? You think it's easy to start over at your age? Good luck finding someone who will put up with your neediness." There it was again. Even in her final attempt to win me back, she couldn't resist taking shots at my character. This was who she really was underneath all the temporary promises and fake tears. "You might be right," I said. "Maybe I will be alone. But I'd rather be alone with my self-respect than married to someone who thinks wanting basic affection makes me pathetic." "I never said you were pathetic. You didn't have to say it. You showed me every single day for months." The lawyer meetings were straightforward. Her attorney tried to portray me as unreasonable walking away from a marriage that could be saved, but my documentation was thorough and my reasons were clear. I wasn't asking for anything unreasonable in the settlement. I just wanted out. Her attorney pulled me aside during a break. "Your wife is willing to try counseling. She's willing to make significant changes to save the marriage." She had a year to try counseling. She refused. She's only willing now because the alternative is losing the life I've been providing for her. Don't you think you owe it to your marriage to try? I owe it to myself to stop accepting treatment that no self-respecting person should tolerate. The final papers came through on a Friday. She called me that evening not angry anymore, just defeated. "I hope you're happy," she said. "I'm not happy. I'm relieved. There's a difference. I really did love you, you know." Maybe you did, in your own way. But your way of loving someone is destructive to them and exhausting for you. You'll be better off finding someone who wants the kind of distant, conditional relationship you're comfortable with. And I'll be better off with someone who actually wants to be with me or alone. Both options are better than staying married to someone who sees my feelings as an inconvenience. After I hung up, I sat in my quiet house and realized something important. For the first time in over a year, I felt peace. No walking on eggshells. No wondering if tonight would be another rejection. No analyzing every interaction to see if I'd somehow annoyed her. Just peace. I was finally free to find someone who would appreciate what I had to offer instead of resenting me for offering it. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I ran into her at the grocery store. She looked tired, older. The confidence she'd always carried was gone, replaced by something that looked like regret. "How are you doing?" she asked, her voice careful. "Better than I expected," I said honestly. "You?" She shrugged. "It's been an adjustment. Dating isn't what I thought it would be." I almost laughed. She'd spent our entire marriage acting like she was missing out on something better, and now she was discovering the grass wasn't greener, just different grass with different problems. "The freedom you wanted didn't work out how you planned," I said. "Turns out most men my age either want something casual or they're divorced for the same reasons you divorced me." She looked down at her cart. "I keep meeting guys who think I should be grateful for minimal effort." The irony was perfect. She'd left a marriage where she was treated with respect and consideration because she felt trapped, only to enter a dating world full of men who would give her exactly the kind of treatment she'd given me. "I'm sorry to hear that," I said, and I actually meant it. "Are you seeing anyone?" "I am, actually." Her face changed. "Serious?" "Serious enough. She's everything I didn't know I was missing. What do you mean? She actually wants to spend time with me. Physical affection isn't something I have to beg for or schedule. She appreciates effort instead of taking it for granted. Basic stuff that should be normal in a relationship. I could see her processing it, probably comparing it to how she'd treated those same gestures from me. I made a lot of mistakes, she said quietly. We both did. The difference is, I learned from mine. I know you probably don't want to hear this, but I realize now what I lost. You were a good husband. I just couldn't see it at the time. I was a good husband to someone who didn't want a husband. It's not sustainable for anyone. Do you think we could have worked it out if I'd been different earlier? I considered the question. Maybe, but you weren't different earlier and that's who you were. I can't build a marriage on the hope that someone will become a different person. I have changed, though. Going through this taught me a lot about what I really want. Good. That'll help you in your next relationship. She looked surprised. You're not interested in trying again? No. I'm with someone who wanted me from day one, not someone who had to lose me to figure out my value. There's a difference. As I walked away, I felt something I hadn't expected. Pity. Not for what she'd lost, but for what she'd never understood she had. She'd spent our entire marriage looking for reasons to be dissatisfied instead of appreciating what was right in front of her. 3 months later, I got a text from her sister. My ex-wife was engaged to someone she'd met on a dating app. According to the sister, he was nothing like you, which is probably good for both of them. I showed the text to my girlfriend. She laughed. Good for her. Some people need to learn things the hard way. That evening, as we sat together watching a movie, she curled up against me without any prompting. No rejection, no excuses, no making me feel guilty for wanting closeness. Just natural affection between two people who actually enjoyed each other's company. Thank you, I said. For what? For wanting to be with me. For making me remember what it feels like to be appreciated. Thank you for not settling for less than you deserved. If you'd stayed in that marriage, we never would have found each other. She was right. The best decision I ever made wasn't fighting harder for a marriage that was already over. It was walking away from someone who didn't value what I offered and finding someone who did. My ex-wife taught me an important lesson, just not the one she intended. She taught me that self-respect isn't negotiable, that love without respect is just comfortable familiarity, and that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stop trying to fix something that was never meant to work. I never thanked her for that lesson, but in a way, her rejecting me 31 times was the best thing that ever happened to me. It forced me to stop accepting crumbs and start demanding the full meal I deserved. I never planned on becoming the guy who could tell you the exact date, time, and excuse of every rejection in a 31-day stretch. I never thought I'd be the man who kept a private note on his phone titled, "Do not forget this feeling," and updated it like a war journal. But that's what survival looks like when your own bedroom becomes a battlefield and the enemy sleeps 18 inches away pretending everything is fine. The first 15 rejections I absorbed like a good husband. I told myself it was normal. Long marriages have seasons, kids, careers, hormones, stress, all of it. I read the articles. I nodded along in the Reddit threads. Just love her better, do more chores, plan date nights, give her space, give her attention, give her everything except the one thing she's decided you no longer deserve. I swallowed it all. I became a world-class emotional contortionist, bending myself into whatever shape I thought might finally make her look at me the way she did the first year. By day 16, I stopped believing my own excuses. By day 22, I stopped initiating entirely, just to see what would happen. Nothing happened. She never noticed the absence. She never reached for me in the dark. She never once rolled over and said, "Hey, it's been a while. Are you okay?" That's when the rage started, quiet at first, then volcanic. Not the screaming kind, the cold, clear kind that makes you terrifyingly calm, the kind that lets you make decisions with surgical precision because you finally see the truth with both eyes open. I remember the exact night I decided. Day 31, 11:47 p.m. I'd spent the evening helping our daughter with algebra, reading our son the next chapter of his dragon book, folding 3 loads of laundry, hers included, taking out the trash, locking up the house. Normal dad stuff. I came to bed feeling, for once, like a decent human being. I slid my hand across the sheets the way I had hundreds of times before. She stiffened like I'd touched her with ice. Not tonight. I'm exhausted. No eye contact. No softness. No maybe tomorrow. Just the same flat dismissal she'd perfected into an art form. I lay there in the dark and felt something inside me die quietly. No drama, no final gasp, just a clean, painless death. The part of me that still believed I could earn my way back into her desire simply stopped. And in its place rose something new, absolute certainty. I didn't sleep that night. I got up at 3:12 a.m., went to the guest room, and started planning. Quietly, ruthlessly, like a man who has finally been given permission to save himself. I separated the finances first, every account, every credit card, every automatic bill. I photographed every statement, every retirement fund, every kid's college account. I met with the best divorce attorney in the county the next morning and paid the retainer in cash so it wouldn't hit the joint account. I made copies of everything. I prepared the parenting plan that gave her generous time because I'm not a monster, just a man who refuses to be a doormat. I did it all while still kissing the kids goodbye at the bus stop and making her coffee the way she likes it, because I decided the last gift I would ever give her was the illusion that everything was fine until the moment it wasn't. When I finally sat her down and showed her the 31 entries, I wasn't shaking. I wasn't pleading. I was calm in the way a man is calm when he's already grieved the death of something and is now just delivering the eulogy. She went through every stage you read about: denial, bargaining, rage, fake tears, genuine tears, more rage, seduction, threats, guilt trips about the children, promises of counseling, promises of scheduled sex. Jesus Christ, scheduled sex, accusations that I was having an affair, projection is a hell of a drug, and finally the quiet, stunned realization that none of it was going to work this time. I watched her cycle through every weapon in her arsenal and felt nothing. Not hatred. Not even pity yet. Just the clean, metallic taste of freedom. The hardest part wasn't leaving her. The hardest part was watching the kids absorb the news. My daughter cried because change is scary. My son asked if we could still have family movie nights sometimes. I promised them the earth and meant it. I promised them that love doesn't look like one person shrinking so the other can feel big. I promised them that their dad was done teaching them by example that self-respect is optional. And I kept every promise. 18 months later, and the difference is almost embarrassing. I sleep through the night. I laugh without checking first to see if it's allowed. I reach for Lauren in the dark, and she reaches back, every single time, like it's the most natural thing in the world. I cook dinner with music blaring and nobody sighs about my playlist. I buy concert tickets for the good seats, not the nosebleeds I used to choose because someone has to be responsible with money. I take the kids on spontaneous weekend trips, and their faces light up the way they stopped doing, somewhere around year 6 of the marriage. My ex married the guy she met 6 months after the divorce. Some finance bro with a boat and an ex-wife of his own. I hope he likes scheduled intimacy and eye rolls, because that's the full package. I ran into them once at a school event. She looked polished, thinner, determinedly happy. He looked like a man who already knows he paid too much. I gave them the polite nod you give acquaintances and walked away feeling nothing but gratitude that I no longer have to care. People still ask if I have regrets. The only regret I have is the years I spent auditioning for a role she'd already decided to cut from the script. I regret every night I lay awake wondering what was wrong with me instead of accepting what was wrong with the marriage. I regret teaching my children, for far too long, that love can look like indifference if it's dressed up in shared mortgages and carpool schedules. But even that regret is fading, because every day I get to show them the corrected version. I kept the note on my phone, the one with the 31 entries. I can't bring myself to delete it yet. Not because I need the reminder of her, but because I need the reminder of him, the man who finally decided he was worth more than conditional affection and practiced disappointment. Some nights I open it, scroll to the last entry, and read the single line I added the morning after I made my decision. Day 32. I stopped asking. Then I lock the phone, roll over, and pull Lauren close. She murmurs something sleepy and content, fits herself against me like we were built for this, and I fall asleep smiling. 31 nights of rejection didn't break me. They set me free. And freedom, it turns out, feels a lot like being wanted exactly as I am every single night.